Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to decipher the plot through a haze of doves, motorcycles, and slow motion stairs. Directed by John Woo, Mission Impossible 2 turns Ethan Hunt into a leather-jacketed action hero in a romantic thriller with operatic flair. I knew this was going to be a tongue twister. But is this mission a stylish upgrade or a self-destructing mess of melodrama and motorcycles? Good Lord, that's so easy to get through. I set myself up for a real winner there.
I just like to watch it happen.
Mission Impossible 2, Andy. Let me give you the quick plot summary before we break it down and all that. So Ethan Hunt must stop a former IMF agent turned terrorist from releasing a deadly virus. With the help of a skilled thief and emotional complications, he must outmaneuver his rival before time runs out and Chimera goes viral.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing that because I do actually forget.
That's why I'm doing it.
Like,
yeah.
You know, when you're gang watching these things, it's like I watched 5 movies in 3 days.
I wanna stress one of the things I forgot. I know we were going to talk about the heist in each one. One of the things I did forget to mention in the previous one is the stunts. I was going to try to keep track of the stunts. I wrote down some, and then I also didn't mention the unmaskings because I was kind of curious about how many masks there were in the film. But let's talk about this one. So you got Rotten Tomatoes on this one?
I do. Rotten Tomatoes is sitting at 57 with the critics and 42 with the audience. They did not care for this film, which again, from everybody I talked to said, you got to get through the first 2. It gets better.
Yeah.
My quick notes on this was the opening of this one I thought was better than the first one. Having said that, I don't remember exactly what the opening was, but I liked it better. I know. I was
trying to recall.
I wrote it down. I was excited to see John Woo was the director because I think he's a fairly good, decent action director, and I thought it was decent, that aspect of it. I mean, the action sequences just seem to get just crazier and crazier. But I mean, I wrote the note I have is I like the pace of this one better than the first one. It seemed like this one moved at a better pace.
Yeah,
and I wrote masks. How are they able to do that level of mask on the fly? Is my note. Yeah. Because it seems like in this one they were doing masks like.
I honestly felt like that's why I wanted to count them, because I honestly felt like in this particular one there were masks everywhere.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess that lends to that. You just got to suspend reality.
Sure,
you can't
absolutely.
Get wrapped up. Because I started to get like a little like, oh come on, and I'm like, well, the whole thing is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, yeah.
So it's like, all right, don't get wrapped up in that stupid little. That's just nitpicky, and I don't. That's not necessary for this film. Like, these are ones you just sit back, get some popcorn, and enjoy it. And
right, exactly.
And, you know, it's a good movie. I don't put you on the spot. Do you? When did this one come out?
This one was 2000.
So, do you have an idea what it was up against in 2000?
Andrew,
I'm sorry, man. I hate to keep doing that to you. But I was surprised of how low the fans were on this. Like, they must have really loathed this one.
This was the highest grossing film of 2000.
Yeah,
it made $546 million worldwide.
Yeah,
right behind it at $465 million was Gladiator.
See,
I'll give you the quick rundown. Castaway, What Women Want,
Damn.
Dinosaur, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Meet the Parents, The Perfect Storm, X-Men, and What Lies Beneath. Look, I'm just gonna tell you right off the bat. For me, I could have done without this movie.
Really,
I did not like this movie. I was taken out of it. And look, again, the whole suspension of belief, I get. It's not that it's a terrible movie, but I felt like John Woo, you would think he'd be a great director for this, and I thought it was ridiculous. I could not stand watching it again. I didn't like it when it came out. I thought it was okay, but I was like, we're never going to get another one of these movies. That's what I thought when I saw it.
Wow. Well, clearly the most of the audience thought the same thing.
There's a scene in the beginning where they're where he's chasing her in a car, and they get into this little ballet of the cars spinning next to each other. And I'm like,
yes.
I was like, this is one of the most, this is the, like, I'm all for action movies. And yeah, somebody falls from a high distance and they get back up and they take a bunch of punches, and for some reason, I couldn't get past that. I'm like, that is just so dumb. Like it's supposed to have some sort of visual flair to it. They're in a ballet kind of in these cars, and it's like,
I do know what you're saying there.
I thought it was dumb.
So,
there's a motorcycle jousting scene that is physically impossible. And then there's a sand fight. It was like every ridiculous trope or something you could come up with in an action film was in here, unironically. Not like, it's like, this is the kind of movie that jokes get made from because of some of the ridiculousness. And then of course you got John Woo's thing with the doves. And it's like, gee, and then they had to show up in this one too. Like, I'm sorry. It was just, for me, this one was garbage. And the story wasn't too bad. The story actually itself wasn't too bad. It's just all the directing that I had a problem with.
I completely forgot about the motorcycle sand fight scene. Because I literally remember saying to Teresa, because she walked in like when that was on, she goes, "What's going on?" I said, "Watch this scene." I said, "We're to believe that this incredible, these guys would collide midair, leaping off their motorcycles."
Right.
I said, "Look, Teresa, I've not been in a lot of fights in my life. I will openly admit that. I've had the wind knocked out of me, and I'm done. Like, there's no popping back up and finishing the fight."
Yeah.
And again, I know you got to let that go. I understand that, but this did seem a little. And I forgot about that, but that did seem a little.
It was just a little too much. It was like, look, I know none of this is rooted in reality, but some things you see and you're just like, now come on. Like,
it's a little insulting to me at this point.
These motorcycles are in the air and they both can leap off of them towards each other.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What are you pushing? I don't know.
Come on, Gary. Anyway. Yeah.
So John Woo, what a disappointment. I felt like that actually is what ruined the movie. Overall, the story and everything wasn't too bad, but it was still a little bit different than the rest of them. Different than the first one.
Yeah.
And definitely different than the ones that follow. I have a couple notes on here about some interesting details about it, that the film was pushed back because Cruise was filming Eyes Wide Shut. So they pushed it back so he could grow out his hair. Tara was not a fan of his hair in this. That was one thing that she had a problem with. Tara did not like this movie either, by the way.
Yeah.
So we both agreed on that. Here's one that I found interesting. So Dougray Scott, the guy that plays the villain in it, he was originally cast to be Wolverine in X-Men, but because of the delays on this movie, Hugh Jackman got the part.
Oh wow! I bet he was pissed about that.
Yeah, I wonder how he felt about that.
I'm scrolling through John Woo's career, and he really doesn't have a lot of great stuff. If you looked at his career, there's a few in there. He did Face Off.
And prior to this, I think that he had his style, I think was, I think he became one note is kind of the problem. I think it was all pretty unique.
But like I said, I'm looking at his career going, why did I think it'd be such a great film? Because of John Woo. Like maybe I just bought into the hype around John Woo, because like I'm looking through his career. I was like, none of these things, and I loved Face Off. Now I will say this might be part of the problem is, under his biography, little bio on Rotten Tomatoes, the website, it says John Woo, once hailed by action star, now that's Fast and Loose with star, Jean-Claude Van Damme as, quote, the Martin Scorsese of Asia. So, Gary, if you want to put a little chyron at the bottom, there's your headline. There's your tag.
Yeah.
The Martin
And
Scorsese.
Andy, when you got good stuff like that in there, you got to throw a banner up so it'll just scroll.
I should have just.
That's gold.
John Claude Van Damme, known for his quality films.
So again, you got Ving Rhames back, who's pretty much through the whole franchise, so there's no surprise there. Brendan Gleeson is in this movie. You've got this character, Billy Baird, played by this John Polson. That was the Australian guy that was part of the force with them when they were down there. I don't know who he was. I just like that was a character that I was like, you know, the movies that are after this, and even the one at the first one, I remembered all the extra people in it, all the different agents. When this one came up, I was like, now who's this guy? And I've seen the movie before. I was like, that guy's not very memorable, I guess. I don't know. But despite mixed reviews, it did gross. It was the highest grossing film of 2000. It says here critics were divided. Some loved the style, others felt it lacked the brainy twist of the first film. You've got the main heist in this one was the infiltration of the Biosite Pharmaceuticals lab, where he goes in to steal the virus. A lot more straightforward with that one, I felt like. Then I like if you take the first one where he's got the, you know, this guy gets drugged, so he goes to the bathroom and leaves the station, and then he's got to go through the vent. Now, this one is less in that it's more just an action sequence than anything. You know, he's got to get through the things on the roof or whatever in time.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right. But and then there's a huge fight in there. Was
the first one the one where he drops from the ceiling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a great scene. And I not now we're gonna talk about that for just a minute. I forgot about that, but I saw a thing about how Tom Cruise, how they couldn't get that right, his dropping, stopping, and they kept doing all these takes, and they said it took a lot of time to get that right, and it took him forever to finally get it completely balanced, you know, to where he can just kind of use his arms to keep himself. And in the clip I saw, they said Tom Cruise said, he goes, the funny thing about it was, not for me, but the director, De Palma, was when he finally got it, and I was hovering correctly.
Yeah,
he didn't yell cut. He wanted to see how long I would stay there. So the crew's just watching me. He goes, I'm just like, you know,
doing the whole. Yeah, he was doing.
And he's like, wait, he's like, is he gonna say cut? He's like, I'm just hanging there, like, come on, man. He said, literally, goes, it felt like I was there for like 15 minutes. It might have only been a minute or two, but he goes, it felt like he just. And he said he later goes, I want to see how long you would do it.
Yeah, you know what's funny, and I know we're talking about the first one right now. But you know what's funny about that scene is there's the pressure plated floor that anything that touches the floor is going to set off the sensor, right?
Yeah.
And he has this bead of sweat that's about ready to drip off him. And they show the scene from the wide shot, like you're saying, he's doing this thing.
Yeah.
But when that thing about drops, that bead of sweat, there's a close up and he puts his hand under to catch it. I'm like, he wouldn't have been able to do that. He was like that close to the floor. How do you get your hand up under that?
Exactly.
And anyway.
But that was that gets back to why that one was so
nitpicking, but but this one, I will say for the stunt stuff, he performed all of his own wire jumps and the fight choreography, including the spinning midair gun grab. He did all the motorcycle stunts.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very beginning, there's that rock climbing where he did a free solo rock climbing thing.
That gives me the how would you call it, the heebie-jeebies or the weak knees. Like I see that and the camera pans up, I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just a movie, and I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking it's got to be like a green screen, but I don't think it was really him doing that, right?
They said he had there was no harness in the wide shots, but there was rigging for safety. So they probably digitally edited out just
they had to. There's no way they're gonna let him do that.
Yeah. Which is what a lot of stuff is he's really there doing stuff, but there's safety rigging that they just have to edit out.
Absolutely.
Confirmed mask uses. There were 3 in this one. I thought there were more, but there were only 3. But what was interesting was you've got a character on the opposite side, on the bad side, using a face mask, which was different. And I think, I don't know that that's, well, it's been done once before, but we'll cover that later. Yeah, so that was interesting.
I just like the voice modulator thing that they.
Yeah.
I mean, I love all this stuff, but the crazy part is like, as these films progress, you're watching these and like, I don't know who's really a person anymore.
Yeah.
I just expect a mask to come flying off every time. It's like, oh, that's probably Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Or, whoever else later on in the movie that gets to wear a mask,
Yeah, they've got some, it's tricky. They do that little unmasking thing. It's tricky. I like the gadget stuff. I think it's really cool.
I do.
One of the reasons I like the Bond stuff is I like the little gadgety stuff. I think it's fun.
Yeah. That's all I got, Gare.
That's all I got. Look, if you're going to watch this series as we talk about it, or if you're going to go back after we talk about it and watch it or whatever, do yourselves a favor and just skip this one. Just skip it. I don't think you really need one. I still think one's decent. You could start at 3 though, and be perfectly happy.
I mean, yeah, there's some continuing character stuff, but these are all good standalones. It's not like I probably like Bond. You don't need to see every Bond film in order to appreciate a Bond film.
Right.
It's helpful, but
it's got its own thing going on.
Like these, as they progress, there are some ongoing characters throughout these things that will come back. But I mean, I wouldn't worry about being lost with that. There's so many twists in some of these films that I'm like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. I'm just like wait and see. So all right, wrap it up.
Guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We keep saying that, but man, that would really help us out. We'd really appreciate it. If you're still watching this, go down there now and do it. It would be very kind. Andy would appreciate it. It would make his day.
I need it.
Look at him. Look at that face. Give him the sad face, Andy.
Oh, that's just my normal face.
Catch y'all next time.
Bye.
Day and Gary are coming to you with a new movie they like to review. Whether they liked it or you will soon see by their rating amounts of poo or TP. They rate things different than other shows. The higher the amount, the more it blows. Flick flops are unfiltered reviews of all of the movies we chose to view. We love some and other we've simply hated. You can find out by how much we rate it.
This has been a Touch of Madness production, brought to you by the creative minds at Tommy Twins Media.